Hi, I'm Megan Kratz, and today I'll be discussing how exercise can reduce anxiety and depression. I chose the topic on how exercise can reduce anxiety and depression because I am an NCAA athlete at Gettysburg College, and since I do exercise regularly because of that, times where I haven't, such as off-season injuries, I can really tell how that's affected my mental health. On the off season where you're not practicing every day, I feel more anxiety because I don't have a schedule to follow through. And then for injuries, I've had injuries in the past. The most recent one was I had two stress fractures in both my legs, and I was on a wheelchair for the whole season. And obviously, someone working out as much as I did, being a college athlete, to going to sitting in a chair made me depressed because I wasn't getting anywhere near the exercise levels that I usually do. So I chose this topic ultimately because I feel like I can relate to it a lot. Since I'm talking about depression and anxiety, I want to go over both definitions. Depression is a mental health disorder characterized by persistently depressed mood or loss of interest in activities, causing significant impairment in daily life. Anxiety is a mental health disorder characterized by feelings of worry, anxiety, or fear that are strong enough to interfere with one's daily activities. The effects of anxiety and depression can be classified as acute or chronic. Acute effects are immediately and possibly, but not necessarily, temporary effects arising from a single bit of exercise. Chronic effects are long term, changes over time with anxiety and depression with exercise. Talking about how exercise can improve one's anxiety and depression, I wanted to bring up the concept runner's high. Runner's high is defined as a feeling of endorphia that is experienced by some individuals engaged in strenuous running, and that is to be associated with the release of endorphins by the brain. Basically, in other words, it's when a runner, who is usually running more than 6 miles, is usually when runner's high occurs, is just the sensation of feeling good as you're running, not feeling any injuries or pain or struggles. Your mind is clear, you're in a groove, a rhythm. The run begins to be a sense of ease, you have lift of the legs, and everything is just good. It's a good state. Hi, I'm here today with Hill, New Jersey's Danielle Cossio. She's an avid runner. I went to high school with her, so I thought she would be the perfect person to interview about mental state and runner's high and stuff like that. So to start off, do you experience anxiety or depression at all?
Some days, a little more on other days than not.
Okay. And next question is, do you run every day?
Yes, I try and run most of the days of the week. I usually try and get out there like 4 times out of the 7 days a week. I definitely experience being more happy and energized the days that I do run.
Okay, yeah, that was my next question. Do you notice anything about your mood or maybe your daily life on days you don't run versus the days that you do?
Yeah, days that I don't run, I kind of feel a little bit more anxiety or like unorganized, where the days that I start my days off running, I kind of feel like I'm more in my routine and I just feel like my life is more together.
Okay, and how much do you think you run per day or per week?
I try and run at least like 7 miles every day. My half marathons I do weekly, and then I've done one full marathon, and I've done many half marathons.
Many halves. Okay, and are you familiar with the term runner's high?
Yes.
Do you experience runner's high in your daily runs, or maybe the marathon you did or the half marathons?
Definitely when I run my half marathons and I get to that 2-digit, like 10-mile point, I definitely experience like I'm almost floating. I don't feel anything, and it really helps me finish my race.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for agreeing to let me interview you.
Of
This
course.
was great.
Thank you.
Jasper Smith, PhD co-director of the Anxiety Research and Treatment Program at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, also co-author with Otto of the 2011 book, Exercise for Mood and Anxiety, Proven Strategies for Overcoming Depression and Enhancing Well-Being. So these two people tested their theory that what the book is called, Exercise for Mood and Anxiety, that it's proven that exercising can enhance well-being and overcome depression and anxiety, or help. So they tested their theory that regular workouts might help people who are prone to anxiety become less panic when they experience something that gives them anxiety. They tested their theory among 60 volunteers with heightening sensitivity to anxiety. Subjects who participated in the 2 weeks exercise program showed significant improvement in anxiety sensitivity compared with the control group. So ultimately, their theory was tested positive that exercising, even if it's just a little bit, simple exercise can improve anxiety on things that you might get more anxious with if you're not exercising. James Bluthmethel, a PhD clinical psychologist at Duke, quoted, "There's a good epidemiological data to suggest that people are less depressed than inactive people. And people who were active and stopped tend to be more depressed than people who maintain or inherit an exercise program. The evidence comes from experimental studies." James has explored the mood-exercise connection randomized control trials. In one study, he and his colleagues assigned adults with major depressive disorder to one of 4 groups. There was a supervised exercise, home-based exercise, antidepressant therapy, or placebo pill. So those were the 4 groups. After 4 months of treatment, James found patients in the exercise and antidepressant groups had higher rates of remission than did the patients on the placebo. Exercise, he concluded, was generally comparable to antidepressants for patients with major depressive disorder. 1 year later, James followed up with the patients. The type of treatment they received during the 4-month trial didn't predict remission a year later, he found. However, subjects who reported regular exercise at the 1-year follow-up had lower depression scores than did their less active counterpartners. He quoted, "Exercise seems not only important for treating depression, but also preventing relapse." So basically, he tested the theory of acute and chronic effects. So he did a short term and a long term, and both of them he concluded with data that exercising does help treat and help depression. Program I want to implement to help people with anxiety and depression find a coping strategy through exercise is to implement mandatory exercise in schools, even at universities. I had gym class every day in grade school and high school where we would run around, play an activity, some type of exercise for an hour a day. But we never really learned why exercise was important. The only thing we knew is it prevented you from gaining weight or becoming fat or obese, and it could help you live longer, prevent illnesses, all that stuff. But we never actually learned that it could help your mental state, like anxiety or depression. I feel like giving information starting young to children of why exercise is so important can only help them follow doing exercises throughout their life. I feel like giving tips on different exercises for all different levels could help students exercise outside of school, during vacations, on their own time. I also think it's important to share statistics, information, and background of why it's important to exercise. Because just telling kids to exercise, they're not knowing why they're doing it besides maybe having fun. But some kids don't like exercising, and I think if they knew it could help with anxiety and depression, they would want to do more of it. I also think it's important to implement this program in universities as well. I know my university, as well as many other universities, don't require any kind of gym class or exercise Fortunately, I am on a NCAA sports team and I do get exercise daily. However, a lot of my friends and peers aren't on a sports team and they only exercise if they want to. No one's telling them to, no one's giving them information of why it's good. So I think implementing these daily exercises for everyone could really only help their mental state. Hope you all learned how exercise can ultimately help your mental state and improve anxiety and depression. Thanks for watching.